boom, 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 boom. There we go. Good morning, everybody. This is Chief O. Chuck to you if you want to call me Chuck. Fine, call me. It doesn't matter. But I go. This is let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, and we're going to continue this the show we had last week with the greatest of all great men in this state that has served the state, served our people for over 20 years. Uh, um, Somebody's trying to sell me a Harvey Davidson. Good morning again. Good morning. Somebody's trying to sell me a Harvey Davidson. Yeah, I don't know. But
everything is commercialized today.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Tiger. I'll just call you Tiger Davis. Is that all right?
Cool. That's good.
This is Chief O on Let's Talk About It. We got so many other things that have been going on all week. The mayor of Baltimore, I guess I'll leave that to Tiger to be able to express what the mayor have said lately and what that means to the rest of us. So, and I also have, I got a question for you, Tiger.
Yeah.
Let me see. No, you don't want that. Do you know all of the words and the melody to the Black National Anthem? Lift every voice and sing.
We used to sing it every day.
Is that a yes?
So I come out of one of them old segregated school systems, in Baltimore. And, that's the first. I used to sing it in church, too. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. But,
very powerful, very powerful.
It's a different day today because I guess after integration, that song was not played as broadly as it previously was for those of us who attended segregated schools. Because I graduated from elementary school back in 1954, and that was the year that Brown versus Board of Education passed. And so once we began to integrate schools, and I've never attended an integrated school. I've always attended historically Black schools, but they were integrated because the Morgan State University had a thriving non-African population back in the late 60s when I attended Morgan. So I've never attended anything but HBCUs, whether in elementary school or up. And we sang that song. The other thing that we did too, Chuck, which brought us to our community. I can sing our high school national anthem just like it was yesterday. Dear Dunbar, how we love thee. Our hearts and souls are thine. I ask students today, if I ask my son who graduated from Dunbar, to sing the school song, the alma mater, he couldn't sing it. But that's a difference between then and now.
Yeah.
And I guess we have to accept those differences, and move on because it's a new generation with a new world view, so to speak.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm hoping that, well, I tell you, I'll be honest with you. I went to such a multicultural school with Indians, with Chinese, with all sorts of school, but it was in Windsor Mountain, Lenox, Massachusetts. And then I came and I went to school at University of Baltimore downtown. Did my master's and my bachelor's and 2 masters from that school. So
was Pitts down when you were there? Was Pitts down there when you was there?
Who?
Pitts used to be. I think it did vet work study out of the veterans office at UB.
They changed veteran officers so fast and so quickly. It was you can meet one person one day and somebody else on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Just there was a lot who were head of that office, and it was that office was created. Money that was given by dollars that was given to us, And that's how we get the money for what is the Veterans Office.
Yeah, we used to
It's
call
in
it DSEC.
Smoke with there. And yeah, you know Carl Smoke.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, Carl was he's a good man, a very good man. Hard to get to, but hard to get him, but he's a good man. No, so I don't know the person, but I got a surprise for you.
Yeah.
Two surprises. Two. I'm hoping that Giovanni would be able to post some of the opinions of people on the issue of reparation. And there's four of them is Caucasian, and he had serious answer to the question: if should black people get reparation? His answers will shock you. That was one, and then he too provided a really good document, literally a good document that he provided. And I know that you know about it because when I got drafted or captured or maybe kidnapped,
I volunteered.
I didn't volunteer. They just kidnapped me, right? And that was what they called at the time, President Johnson's and McNamara's called the Project 100,000.
Oh, you was part of Project 100,000?
I'm dead in the middle of 100,000, the Great Society's answer to military manpower needs in Vietnam. I was dead in the middle of it, 1968.
So your military ID begins with 6'8".
Does it? I can't remember. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. See, all of those Project 100,000 guys, when they were drafted under that provision, there's Social Security, not Social Security, but their military ID began with the year that they were drafted. Okay. That's we always thought that was part that they were going to do a study, that this was like a laboratory thing, man, that they were going to study those people drafted under Project 100,000.
So you know about the 100,000?
Very well, very much so. Very much so.
This guy gave me the document, the Project 100,000. I was shocked in reading it. I'm just shocked that I was part of that project, and how they what they call the social inequities of urban region, sort of trying to make it seem as if because the African Americans was so unequal in terms of social inequality, that they were trying to help black people by recruiting us or drafting us or kidnapping us, because that's what it basically was, including the brothers who were in who were now being placed into the military. What this guy expressed that was very interesting is that it was kidnapping. And I simply just asked him, in terms of reparation, do you think that African Americans should get it? And his expression was simply, should we get it? That we should be one of the categories of people that should get reparation. Those 100,000 black men that were drafted, kidnapped, and placed in the war for Vietnam War. And a lot of us were not expected to come back, but we're here. By the grace of God, if his clip can be placed, you're gonna hear something. And then there was a grandmother who gave a litany of areas or people whom she believed should get it. Not to give you all details, but it's her expressions was very intelligent. I think she's probably one of those more intelligent. recognize her if you saw her. Her categorized people that should get and should be compensated includes those women who have lost in Vietnam or through other means. That they should be on that list of people that should be compensated for the reparation. Of course, there was a third guy who was a little bit of an angry young man, but who very well about the reparation. But he was a little, as young men can get, pissed off about it. Believe is not a deliberate that this is not going to work. So they're not going to find a way to make sure that. But the grandmother believed that if we use the documents, and she said, we are a documentary people. We love to document it, just like you, and you're a natural document. That's a history by itself. Every time that you say something, it has significant historical fact, and that I think that's part of the African American culture, and that's the same thing that's done in Africa. But people pass down information by history, just letting them know how that works. And that was some interesting interviews that I'll be doing some more. This issue now was discussed again by the committee that is studying it. Now have gone one step further. Is now in a full committee hearing on reparation. The state of California just started that a couple of days ago, and it seems like this is now an issue that is on the table and discussion on that, also on that committee that Sheila Jackson of Texas started the whole thing. So now people are hearing bits of stories, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, I heard something about it." It seems like somebody is now pushing it. They didn't have too much details, and HR 40 is a House bill that was established by Sheila, and also the Senate bill by Congressman Booker of New Jersey. He also a Senate bill, almost the of that congressional bill, HR 40, and the Senate one is called Senate 40. Anybody can get it by simply going to congress.gov. You go to congress.gov. It's a commission to study and develop reparation proposals for African American act. And something that I like to add, my dear brother, is how would a urban city like Baltimore be able to submit a proposal to Congress while they are now discussing it? If our congressman, what's his name again, Kwesi Nkrumah, is not supporting it.
Well, are you sure he's not supporting it, or is it just that he's not a sponsor? Because it was my understanding that the entire Congressional Black Caucus was in support of that. Because this bill goes back to Congressman Conyers, who had put that bill in for the last, 20 to 30 years.
32 years.
Before he retired.
Yeah. As far as I can see, on the list in the House of Representatives, there's an awful lot of Congressman Lee, Plaskett, Russo, a lot of Coleman in New Jersey. Yeah, Mrs. Watson Coleman, I know her very. And then Sarbanes here in Maryland. Yeah. That he's in support. Blunt in Rochester. There's a lot of Strickland, Congressman Strickland.
Mhm.
So there's everybody's who's on that committee, their name is on R40 as supporting this bill. But as I go down the line, we have Congressman Westerman
Rosamond Schultz, yeah, she's a good lady.
Thompson of Mississippi,
Yeah,
you know,
mm-hmm.
even Ocasio-Cortez,
Yeah.
you know, Johnson of Georgia. So there's a lot of Southern Congress people that are in support of the reparation bill. But again, as I go through this, and this bill was just introduced on this year in February 26th. So it seems I don't see why unless he's using his other.
All right, I heard that. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked and surprised that his name is not on that bill.
You know, I've combed it twice.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
You know, Miss Clark of Massachusetts, other people from other states who are there, but Waisi, you know, he was elected. He's on this. He might not be on this committee, but I think maybe that's probably a problem that he's not on this.
Because look, the justification for reparations is there. You know, and I don't think there's anyone who can deny the justification for reparations. They may not have ideas on how it should be implemented or what have you, but I mean, look, if we give the Japanese reparations for a few years of internment during World War II, then certainly African Americans who since the 13th Amendment, and I'm only going to deal with since the 13th Amendment, you know, honestly, I'm only going to deal with that particular period. And during that particular period, we endured over 100 years of pure terrorism. Worst terrorism the world has ever known. No matter what our people did, there were paramilitary groups developed who were really sanctioned by the government, or they were not objected to even by the Union Army or what have you. And I'm talking about the Ku Klux Klan, the Purple Coats, and all these other paramilitary groups who were developed to keep or maintain slavery. Now we end up in a system called peonage or what have you. Okay, but the bottom line is that from that particular time forward, you know, the historical justification for reparations was there. Our folks with Pap Singleton, you know, he said, look, we got to get out of the South. We got to get out of the South because they're recreating the system of slavery. So he's going to come out of the South and go out west to Kansas, Missouri, and other places, you know, out west, where he eventually settled and built towns or whatever, prosperous towns. But then the paramilitary group became so strong and powerful to try to stop them from migrating, to keep them on the plantation, that they even forced the mayor of St. Louis, which was the gateway to the West, they forced the mayor to make it a crime for blacks to even come through St. Louis and go out west. I mean, and then when we built the towns and they became prosperous, they burned them down. And I'm not talking about Tulsa, I'm talking about other towns, because we opened up and built many towns. And many of those people were former you know, U.S. colored troops or troops who fought in the Civil War. They went out west to open up new avenues of development for the former, I call them freedmen or the former slaves or what have you. And no matter where they went, they started things and they built things, and then only to have people come and burn it down. Like for instance, in
let me ask
1919.
let me ask you something,
Yes.
Davis. The Black Wall Street is a model of what Black people can do when they get together, innovate, and do some innovative thinking, what they can actually do for the community. Today, moving forward, 100 years later, Baltimore City, as anybody sees, Chicago, most urban cities today, um, Detroit, if reparation fund is used for the reconstruction and uplifting of those urban cities, I think there's 42 urban, really identified urban cities in the country. What makes us think that Wall Street of 1921 would not happen again?
Well, that's no question in my mind. See, we, this is why, I had issues with how we present Wall Street, because see, Wall Street was almost every Black community in this country. I mean, even let's take Baltimore City, for instance. We've got a veteran that's 109. Well, he's 110 now, I think. But Ezra Hill was an entrepreneur going way back. He had what was called Avalon Shoe Store. Whenever I went shopping when I was a kid here in Baltimore, I shopped at in the Black community. The money stayed there in the Black community. We had Black-owned businesses. People had restaurants. We used to call them Mom's Greasy Spoon or whatever. We employed our own.
Yeah.
We had A-rappers who would go down, whether it's the waterfront to pick up fruits or vegetables or what have produce that had come in, or whether they went down Jessup to pick up goods and services to bring to the community. And they used to go on the streets and they would sell watermelon, red to the rhyme. They could sing too now, All you want. It was always there. They were independent businessmen. And they would make enough money in one day to take care of their families, and they took care of their families. Even if we look at the numbers, which was our thing in our community, we had numbers writers who were like social workers too, because if a home caught on fire or something like this, the numbers writer would say, hey, look, here's $50 to help that family. I mean, we took care of ourselves until we became part of what I call that welfare state. In the mid-60s, we were independent people who stood tall and dependent upon ourselves. But once you get into that welfare state, where they had rules and regulations that broke up family. If a father was unemployed or mother needed funding, she had to get welfare, then the man couldn't even be in the house, so the father had to leave just so the family could get. I mean, they had crazy rules and stuff that that destroyed the Black family.
They can just come into the house anytime and inspect your house.
That's right. They destroyed our families, and integration was part of that destruction. Okay, there was no such thing as grandma going into a nursing home or whatever. If grandma was senile and crazy, she stayed at home. But no matter how senile or crazy she was, she knew how to give love to those great-grandchildren and those grandchildren. But now we have moved into a different kind of world where we cast aside the old people, and the focus is no longer on our future, which is our children. Every generation must work for the next generation. Our future is our children. Now, what do we do with our future? Once we integrated, we took our future, our children, and put them in hands of people who hated us, people who did not want to be around us, people who viewed us as being inferior. So we take our future and we put it into their hands. Now, what do we expect from that? They turn our kids around to whereby we don't even know who they are anymore. Okay, and we have not regained control of our children since the advent of integration, and that is where our problem is. Because see, look, the one thing that we knew when we were growing up, boy, you got to be twice as good.
That's right.
To make it, boy, you got to be twice as good.
Yeah.
And anything they allow us to do, we will be better than them. That's who we were. And that's how we viewed the world. And so consequently, I grew up believing that white people were inferior to black people. And that was why they kept their foot on us, because they knew we would rise up above them. Now, that's how I grew up. And
Yes.
so consequently, that was reinforced once integration came about, because I'll never forget it. The first football game we played integrated, we played against Poly. And we got maybe a couple hundred boys at Dunbar High School. Poly got about 3,000 or so up there on North Avenue. Look, we were like 4 touchdown underdogs, because there was no way this little black school was going to compete with our boys Poly, who was a national power. Man, right. The score was only 12-8. We beat them 12-8, but physically and psychologically, we destroyed them. We destroyed them, because there was no way they were going to be able to compete with us. Now, to show you, relate that to today, look, Alabama, Florida, all of those great teams down south, right? The whole damn team is damn near black now, right? And they're the national. Look, I keep telling people there was nowhere in the world Notre Dame or any of those other football powerhouses could compete with Morgan or Maryland State, man. There was no way they could compete with us. The proof of that is in the fact that they have now taken all of our players. When I came along, Morgan would have had to pick of whatever they want in the black community, because there was not one white at Alabama, University of Maryland, or any of these schools. Now they got all our guys. Okay, so they were always inferior to us. They could not compete with us. The only way they could compete with us is once they destroyed our culture and our sense of who we are, because then we ended up with what I call a diffuse culture. We're part over here where they really don't want us, but we know we're over here because these are people that love us, and we're juggling between the two, and we don't even know where we belong. We have no set direction or sense of who we are. And I tell people daily, I say, look, the one thing I am grateful about is that when I was a young boy, the people who nurtured me, because I was born in Georgia, on an old plantation, they have all been former slaves. All my great-grandparents have been born slaves, and they taught us who we were, and they taught us what we had to do. And boy, don't you never come home with them outdoing you in anything. And that's the way we grew up. Okay, now then I go into the military. Now, I didn't know at that time that only the lower echelon of the white boys went into the military, right? I just took them as being a sample of white society. Man, we had them dumbass white boys, man, they didn't know a damn thing, man. They were the dumbest goddamn people I had ever seen. So here we are. My experience with white is reinforcing my perception that white people were inferior to black people. Okay, now, and I mean, that's the way it was throughout the military. But then later on in life, I realized that only that lower socioeconomic order of white boys went into the military, man, because the other white boys got deferments, what have you, went to college, or they had jobs where, they didn't have to go into the military. Right. So once again, I mean, man, they were the dumbest goddamn people I'd ever seen in my life, man. I didn't want them nowhere near me. And just like down in Atlanta, you have black communities there that did not allow white people to come. I'm talking about in modern day. that didn't want white people to come into their community. And then the white people accusing them of discriminating because black people got these big homes and they don't want no white people there. Okay, because that is who we are. And once again, that black person has been destroyed. Okay, and I always view myself and those from my generation as a dying breed. There will be no others after us who had a direct relationship with former slaves. Because when I was a kid, everybody that was 80 years old or above had been born a slave. And their perception of the world was totally different than the people who are raising our kids and nurturing our kids today. Because now we put our kids in the daycare centers or early childhood development centers. Back then, it was grandma with that switch. Tell you, boy, come here. And she wasn't going to move out that chair, right? And they raised and they nurtured us. And they gave us love, man. I mean, I look, even today, man, my great-grandmother, when I think about her, I can still smell that snuff stains in her apron because they used to carry them snuff boxes in them little pockets on the apron. And man, you know, I mean, that's how I love my great-grandmother, man. And, you know, I always knew I was somewhat special to her. But then my grandmother, her daughter, and look, here's the beauty of it. My grandmother was born, I think it was 1896. Okay, 1896. Well, my grandson loved my grandmother to no end. He's about he's about 36 now, right? And he loved my grandmother. See, so we don't have those kind of family structures anymore.
Would that be integration?
Well, integration was part of it, and then our mindset, because we then start trying to be like white folks. Okay. Because their standards became the standards for our community. Oh, there was something wrong with our families because we were matriarchal. You know, because in the white community, it's patriarchal. So therefore, if our community was classified as matriarchal, something is wrong. No, wasn't a damn thing wrong with our community. We had strong black women who had kept our families together from slavery, and then even after slavery, they were always the most important entity within our community. The woman, you know, was always, they were the strength of our community. And all of a sudden now, our women are being denigrated in this society. You know, the rap music, so on and so forth, they're being denigrated. They're being presented as sex objects, and those kind of black women were something different and something special. Even if you go back and listen at the songs of our generation when we were young adults, like the Temptations, you know, Just My Imagination, you know, all of those songs, they glorified our love for our women, and they perpetuated that love. There was never no denigration of our women, you know. And so the culture has changed, and we have become a reflection of our culture, or the culture that has been, how shall we say that, has evolved out of integration. And that's a shame. That's a shame. Cool. As far as I'm concerned, we're no longer black people.
What are we?
We're no longer black people.
We're not black. Are we then? If we're not black, huh?
You broke up a minute. Repeat that.
I said, what would you call us now if we're not black people?
Well, we are a homogenized version of someone's perception of who black people are. You know, I mean, look, black people. Look, man. Let me just go back. The people that I looked up to. Look, take Chick Webb, for instance. You know, we got a rec center over here in East Baltimore called Chick Webb, right? There's some efforts afoot. We got to preserve Chick Webb. Now, we all know Chick Webb was one of them great drummers, and Ella Fitzgerald became, his lead singer with his band and all, right? But Chick Webb, we got a rec center here with a swimming pool and all that stuff. Now, how did we get that swimming pool? Dr. Young in our community was chairman of the board of the group. Dr. James Blake, 1600 block of Caroline Street, was the secretary for the group. Joe Lewis would come into town and help to raise money. Everybody, the community we built that rec center. Now, if the city want to tear our rec center down because Hopkins want to expand, another thing coming.
Right.
And so what we're trying to do is not just preserving our Chick Webb Rec Center, but preserving the history that brought that rec center about, because that's who we are as Black people, man. We didn't beg nobody for anything. We did for ourselves, and we built our own, man. And so Ronald Myers is working with that right now, and I think he got it on the historical preservation list and all of that. But Chick Webb must be preserved. Now, will the community stand up and fight and protect that? Because there is more than a building. This is our history. This is the essence of who we are. And we cannot allow that to be destroyed.
And that's our culture. The culture is being destroyed.
That's correct.
The culture has been infiltrated, dismantled, destroyed, and quite frankly, shifted to some other. We now have to abide by other cultures, other people's culture, if we're to survive. And you're absolutely right. And there's an awful lot of people who are on the elderly side and been in Baltimore for a long time that will hear you and the names of people you call, and that, oh my God, I remember him, like Ezra Hill, Ezra Hill now 109 years old.
Yes, it is.
I would like to talk to him. And maybe we can talk about how we can connect with him if he's still around.
In fact, I owe his son a call right now. His son is Ezra Hill Jr. Let's take a look at Ezra Hill for a minute. World War II vet. While in France and Germany, part of his duty was to guard POWs or captured Germans or what have you. And the one thing that he remembered most was that he treated them like human beings.
Yeah.
And that was very important to him, to treat all people like human beings. Well, Ezra Hill, now, he married one of what I call Old Man Cooper's daughters, right? Let me tell you, Old Man Cooper's grandson is Reginald Francis Lewis. The museum is named after him.
Yeah.
We refer to him as the first Black billionaire, right? Well, right. Ezra Hill is Reginald Francis Lewis's uncle, man. And when I look at by the way, let me tell you who Reginald Francis Lewis was. He was born December the 7th, 1942. Okay, on Pearl Harbor Day, 1942. I was born September 1942. He and I played ball together, basketball, football, and baseball at Dunbar. We were together for 3 years. He graduated a year after me. He was in my wife's class. His birthday, by being in December, he started school a year late. Mine was in September. I started that year, right? But Reginald Francis Lewis was the quarterback on my high school football team. But now that's another issue. Our perception of athletes. Reginald Francis Lewis was a quarterback. The second string quarterback was a computer engineer out in Silicon Valley, right? That's a second string quarterback. The third string quarterback, he was the big herd, 173rd in Vietnam, that Agent Orange got him when he came home. But Dickie was a sharp dude. Now, that was a quarterback. One of our wide receivers, Jakey Benjamin or Jakey Rattlesnake, was a chopper pilot. Did 3 tours in Vietnam, right? In charge of aviation for General Electric's West Coast Division. And these are dumb football players, right? Jim Norfleet, one of our fastest, one of our best track stars, at Dunbar. He and my brother graduated together just ahead of me. Jim Norfleet, you will know him by his first major patent, Ultra Bright toothpaste.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Jim Norfleet. Key in his name, and you'll see he was in charge of, he was vice president, ended up vice president for Colgate. He was a veteran too now, right? He ended up as vice president of Colgate Palmolive's oral division. He was in charge of all the scientists worldwide. And when I talked to him, he's still around too. He's just a little bit sickly right now. But he talked about going around the world twice, circumnavigating the globe twice. That was another one. Now, we had other guys on our football team who became medical doctors, okay, like Bobby Young and all. But these were the football players. Now, when we began to football, when our blacks began to go to the white schools, they began to treat them as jocks. Look, take Willie Lanier. And I'm still a little pissed because Willie got an A in business law at Morgan, right? And I didn't get no A because he got this exam, right? And I didn't. We had Dr. Jackson. We used to call him Little Caesar, right? But these were the football players, man. Willie was bright, a genius. He may have been 265 pounds or what have you, with that little small waist, but Willie was a genius. He come out of what? Maggie Walker down in Richmond, all the old black schools, man, because we played ball because this was a way to pay for our education beyond high school. That's why we participated in sports, okay? And so the athletes were the brightest. On my football team, man, like I'm telling you, man, there's at least the guys I played with, like 5 or 6 millionaires, man. Geniuses. I mean, look, everybody majored in mathematics, right? Because that was the easiest thing for us to do. Because the math was something either is right or is wrong, and we like that kind of exact stuff. Because and we could handle math, and the kids today can't, it's because we were disciplined. Okay. 2 + 2 going to be 4. You got to form, you got to follow the rules. The kids today don't have to follow no rules. We were psychologically tuned in to follow the rules. So when we saw formulas, we followed the formulas. We understood that because we were disciplined and we had patience. The kids today
lost it.
Follow rules. They have no sense of rules or following procedures.
But Brother Davis, the rule makers that black children followed, that you in those days and were disciplined by that rules. Mm-hmm. It's just the rule makers at the time were black people.
That's
so
right.
Now the rule makers of today are not black people. Where you go to Annapolis, you're not going to hardly find. You can count it on one hand how many black rule makers are in Annapolis, and that doesn't filter back to our community, and therefore young black kids don't know whose rule to follow.
Well,
and when they follow the Caucasian rule, white people rule, it always leads them to the wrong place. Just what are we going to do? How can we bring that back in?
Take a look at the Jewish community, and I've always been very proud of the Jewish community. They may have gone to the public schools, but they maintain their culture and their identity, who they are. What happened to us is just the opposite.
Right.
We didn't maintain our culture and identity. We became a diffused culture, because we integrated into their culture and adopted their ways.
Right. And
that destroyed who we are. We lost our sense of identity right there. But see, in the Jewish community, they still maintain their culture, their identity, and I'm very proud of them.
Their own school. And their own kids.
That's right.
But we just blended into anyhow, anywhere.
And we adopted the culture and rules of our enemies, those who sought to destroy us. and look here, and once we adopted the rules of master, we became perpetual slaves. Okay. So whenever we have issues, the first thing out of our mouth is racism. Because like racism has become a crutch. Back in my day, racism was something to propel us to be stronger because we knew who they were. And we knew they didn't want us there. We knew they were going to try to treat us differently or what have you, but that made us stronger. Now we submit to racism. Oh, yeah, look. What do you expect from racism?
Put your hands in a snake's mouth.
Yeah. But now look, we got to be careful. And
what do you? Let me. There's some people that I didn't hear you mention. Higginbotham. You remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah. His son ran for mayor, and I think he got 1% or something like that.
The judge.
Yeah, the judge. Yeah, he didn't do very well.
Yeah.
But
But look, let's be careful because we don't look. All white people are not racist or evil in the sense that we're discussing here today, because look, the vast majority of white people are good people. They're good people. Okay, but what we're talking about now is a dominant culture where we are either with force or we acquiesce to the superiority of a culture that tended to suppress who we are and destroy our identity. We acquiesce to that. We did that by choice in many respects. Okay, I've never accepted that. This is why I have never gone to an institution other than an HBCU. This is why I still live in the ghetto. This is why I never had those desires to live in that big rancher way out there, because I want to stay with my people, and this is where I belong. Okay,
right.
so I have, anybody who you talk to about me, they will tell you, Tiger ain't never changed. He's still the same. I'm the same today as I was yesterday. I may have matured somewhat, but the fundamentals of who I am, is still there. And I mean who I am.
I certainly don't want to see a changed Tiger Woods. I mean,
I take Tiger Woods' money any day. Okay.
But Davis, I don't think there's a lot of people that would like to see a changed Tiger Davis. We don't like to kind of Tiger Davis because that's our archive. That's our history. That's our icon. You cannot change. If you try to change, we'll make sure that you get back where you belong and make sure that you retain that history. But I want to, I'm very happy that this show went in that direction. We only have about 9-10 minutes left, and I want to make sure that next Thursday that we get back into that project 100,000. And by then,
I'm gonna try to get on that next Thursday because that's something that I'm quite familiar with, the project 100,000.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to go back to my regular schedule with my mom next Thursday, because normally this time I'm with my mom on Thursday morning. But I'm gonna see if I can lay off one more week and not go back to my regular schedule for another week, because I definitely would like to have a discussion on that project 100,000, because that's something I dealt with during my tenure in the VA and setting up the Death Center program, because we always knew whenever a military ID number come through there and it started off with 66, 67, 68, we knew that there was project 100,000. And so that gave us an idea of who we were dealing with and what to expect and how we should proceed. Because listen,
but that's all right.
Live.
If your schedule does not permit for next Thursday, we will go ahead and and put a different show. But we got to get back to
Well,
this
do the
one.
Project 1 in 1,000. I'm gonna try to make arrangements tomorrow for next Thursday. Okay.
Okay, but
that's the topic that needs to be discussed.
yes, it definitely is. We need to really dig into it. The reason why I want to get into this project 100,000, not 10,000, just 100,000. The Gracious said the answer to the military manpower needs in Vietnam. I want to discuss that more because there is something very correlative to what happened then and what is happening today. We've had children that could have graduated high school, and with this COVID and its impact on the African American community, we've lost a lot of people who have not gone back to school for a long time, for a whole year, maybe a year, maybe longer than a year. And that creates in my mind that another generation of Black people have been placed in the uneducated category. They're just simply uneducated basket. So if there is another need for war, the uneducated basket has a lot of people, a lot of Black people that are there for the taking. And the military has its ways of tricking everybody. Because that one, when you start reading that 100,000, you kind of think that, oh my God, they were trying to help us out. They wanted us to help. They wanted to help us come out of poverty. Oh, so we'll go to Vietnam, and not knowing that you might not come back, not knowing that you will probably lose your life or come back, disfigured and emotionally, PTSD. Most of us have, not knowing that was the actual goal of President Johnson and America. We had no idea, and we did not have the leaders then, like the Congressional Black Caucus we have now. They've left that out. They've gone completely forgotten all about it because we keep on putting it wrong in that caucus. And we just need to open that door again. And I see some correlation again, another bridge to the reparation issue. There's a clear transfer of information or a transfer of ideology that is now here with us now in this generation. I'm just we need to really continue to talk. We have so many issues. This is now the one that is talking about. So we might as well get into that subject of the Vietnam generation. And when they started giving dates of what they were doing, 1966, 1967, 1968. As soon as they hit 1968, I said, uh-oh. So between 1968 and 1970, or 1969, more than 140,000 Black people were abducted. Let's call it what it is. Captured. Involuntarily taken in. And when they started going into September, October, well, that was me. That was, I was, and it bothered me a lot because I couldn't put myself in there until the day.
Chief, let me throw something out here real quick. And I want you to think about this as we move toward next week. Look at what was happening in 1960 to 1965. Black people was fed up. We were determined that we were not going to take it anymore. Okay, so what they did, and look at how they destroy a movement. you take and put out these social welfare programs or other programs. Some of them are good programs like Job Corps, what have you. You take kids out of the community once they're 16 years of age, okay? Because these become the new warriors who will be on the front line in the cities or in the rural areas fighting for freedom. Then you come up with other little programs to further divide the community. Then you come up with Project 100,000, take that group of warriors out of the community and send them into combat over Vietnam or whatever. Look, all of these programs, even if they were not designed to do so, they destabilize our community and enable the powers that be to turn our culture upside down. Okay, think about it, and we can discuss that next week because there's more to that Project 100,000 than just those persons who served in the military. This may have been part of an overall plan to destabilize the community, or at least to pacify the African American community, man.
Yeah, I agree. Both of them. The destabilization. You know, something I forgot to do. Listen, everybody that is listening to Clarence Tiger Davis, make sure that you subscribe. You know, we need the help so we can reach our Clarence Tiger Davis. We want to go ahead and make sure that we reach it 10,000 plus. If they went for 100,000, I'd rather go for 100,000 viewers. But right now, we just go for 10,000. Well, that's okay. We'll go for 100,000. Go ahead and press that button, subscribe, and ring that bell. That will give us a lot of people to come in and listen. We need to have that. So please, all those people that are listening to us now and listening to an icon to us about history, about what has happened, and we're going to move this into where do we go from here. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because a lot of people just don't want to talk about it. We're not going to let this go. We're going to talk about it by the grace of God. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what to do. Because sometimes if you don't do anything, you're bound to repeat it. Like we're going into the repetitive stage. So we need some people to stay. That's enough. Let's talk about it. And Tiger Davis is the one person. We'll be getting some more viewers, more people, older generation. Because people just don't want to hear nothing about all this older stuff. You're the reason why we're talking. Get it straight. If we can't talk about it, then all of us are about to repeat the same mistake that was made long ago. So we have to continue talking about it. Brother Davis, how many ways can a man say thank you? Thank you so much. Let's talk about it with Chief O. And by now let's talk about it with Chief O and Clarence Tiger Davis. So, some of you folks don't ignore this. Sit down for 1 hour and be lectured and listen. Because if you don't listen, we're in trouble. Until the next time, by the grace of God, I really pray that we get to sit back down, wake up, touch the ground, feel the presence of God in our struggle. But we're still struggling. We're still moving forward, and we need God in our all the time. I'm looking for pastors and the churches to come to this show and let's talk about certain things and that is going on in the church or not going on in the church. Because some of the pastors are very knowledgeable, like our icon, Clarence Davis, Tiger Davis. Until the next time, this is Chief O. Stay safe, stay aware, be sharp. God bless you much, all of you who are listening. Until the next time, Brother Davis, Good day.